G'day, g'day, g'day. It's Mathematical KM. Remember their initials, not the title. Keith Molumby. Molumby's from Tipperary, for those of you who are interested, and yes, it's a long way, if you know the song. I mentioned the Irish heritage because Irish pawns are going to feature. Okay, my young opponent, born in 2011, but still quite good. He's rated at 1530 to my 1460, so that's something like 70 points uphill. Of course, I had the white pieces. We're in for a rollicking game. Let's get this here. You can see it's a rollicking game there with what's going on. Okay, so I'm the white pieces setting up the hippo. Let's get that across to showing what the computer thinks. Here we go. So far, so normal. He's gone with a bit of a pyramid instead of the two pawns all the way forward, so slightly different to what we're used to. He's got the bishop outside of his pawn pyramid. It's all looking good. And pinning my knight to my king, I can... It would be a deviation from the water horse, but the c-pawn forward is an option. But for now, that knight is just fine. And I decide to ask, with a standard hippo move, ask the bishop if it's serious. It stays, keeping the pin. Computer would like me to keep asking the question, but I go with denying the g4 square. And it's still plus 0.1 to white, so which is a little lower than maybe you'd normally have with white, but then again, the computer loves space, and we're not taking a lot of space setting the water horse up. He's sent the h-pawn flying forward, but if he goes there, then that's the sort of moment that the g4 move, not only is it good against the h-pawn, but it would come with tempo against a piece. So that's not too much to worry about over there. And this was, let's see, what did the computer think? Because I'm deviating from the hippo. Instead of knight to e2, I'm going knight to f3. But of course, knight f3 is a standard hippo opening move, but it's usually this knight that ends up there. But knight f3 is the second best move here. b4, hassling that bishop that's doing the pin, was top. Very close is knight f3. And I'm thinking knight f3 because that could possibly be a nice outpost. That also possibly a nice outpost. And even across here if I want to entice that. There's places for it to go. So out we go. He brings another knight out, developing. And at this point, the computer still wants that b4 move, or castling. It isn't entirely obvious where he's going to attack, but what I can see is the potential for me to mount an attack on my queen side. And if I'm attacking on my queen side, it would make sense to castle king side. And queen e2 is the third best choice in there. Which gets an X even though it was the third best. Yep. The bronze medal move gets across when you look at it. It's suggesting that he lose that bishop for my knight. It's not like the knight's not protected, but he pretty much copies, developing his queen. He can now castle either way. That's a plus for him. I've castled because I'm intending to attack on the queen side. He castles queen side, which makes my idea of attacking queen side that much better. And let's see. Computer likes b4 first, which is making that bishop move. It hasn't got a lot of places to move. And it likes c3. Or knight b3, which is attacking but with a knight. over there. Oh, I've gone with the pawn move. Normally you can't play the c4 move if he's got a bishop here, but in this particular case I've got a queen protecting the d-pawn. And his best move is taking it with his d-pawn, which he plays. It's called a great move, and yep, it was at about this stage that I had to have quite the long hard think, because things aren't looking super great. Actually, just taking back with the d-pawn does seem to be my best choice, at -2. I didn't like it because of the move that he could play of bishop. I take that pawn, he plays bishop into d3. It's skewering the queen and rook. And I went to some lengths to avoid this. I don't want to go down the exchange for that light bishop. And at the end of the day, he has 1, 2, 3 pieces on that pawn. I've only got the queen protecting it. But if I, and let's see, get the rook out of the way of any said skewer. Now, if he takes it with the rook, there's no immediate problem. The knight's protected by 3 pieces. This one's protected by a pawn. It is giving up this d-pawn. By d-pawn. You served me well. If he takes it with the bishop, with what would have been the skewer, I'm just going to step out of the way and then work on removing the bishop. If he takes it with the pawn, then I'll move the bishop, the queen back to f1, and I'll have the queen. Oh, too many arrows. If he takes it with the pawn, I'll have the queen on it, the rook being about to be on it, and when the knight moves, and the knight could move to where the pawn came from, and it would be then threatening a hanging bishop. That's kind of my ideal. Getting out of this without going down the exchange was the plan. Wow, it's up +5. His best move is, and it's the one that would make my queen move to e1. Yep, you can see the e1. Is taking with the bishop. His worst is probably the most natural, which is taking with the pawn, which he's played. And I believe it was the best move, taking the queen to f1. Now, as his best move, well, it's not best anymore, but bishop takes the knight was one of his better moves, and he's actually played it. Now, I can take back with knight, rook, or bishop. I thought taking with the bishops, developing that my dark bishop, which has really got nowhere to go at the moment, and I'm kind of thinking about getting it to b4. And it was the second best, but not much in it between that or taking with the knight. Taking with the knight, I can see, would come with the threat of swapping off with that knight and ruining his pawn structure in front of the king. So I took with the bishop, and he's brought his bishop in to where it's threatening the knight, but the knight is protected by a bishop. I have played the move I was planning, getting the bishop threatening the queen. And if that knight ends up being dead or moved, then that's always potentially going to be a good move at some point in time. Okay, and the other reason I was hoping that he would take the bishop with the knight was he can choose to win a pawn, but it's almost like a gambit line. I'm trying to get some pretty big activity with that rook. he's obviously seen that, and he's saying, don't you even have any thoughts about rook times a7? But, and it's my best move, let's challenge that pawn with Barry, b5. It's called a great move. It was planned a little bit in advance too. Okay, the best thing he can do is take it, but that will open that lane for my rook, but he's taken it. Interesting that that's currently the best move, the a8. If I can just do something about d7, then it's checkmate. And the second best, knight e5, covers this square. Gives him something to think about. And if he doesn't do the right thing, then the game could be over. So we've played it. Even it was the second best move, and it comes in with a question mark. Okay. His best move is c6, giving his king a way out so that the rook check is not mate. Now, he has worked out that there is a mate and one threat, but he didn't move the c pawn, he moved the b pawn. And that was been giving him chances to lose or muck up. This is the first one he's kindly taken for me. It's +1 to black. Now it's +4.5 to me. So we'll see if I return the favour. Okay. Now, it is interesting that the best move, let's make my image get a bit smaller here, is taking with the rook. His bishop takes my bishop. I'd take the bishop back with my queen. Might go through that line a bit later. But what I was seeing was knight to c6, forking the rook and the queen. And maybe I didn't look deeply enough into some of these other ideas, but that was something I was very interested in, which meant this bishop has to die. And that was the second best move, and it's actually the same eval. So I've played it. It's called a great move. He's taken it back. Now, again, rook times d3 is the best move, followed by rook to a8 is +3.2, so it's still pretty good. And instead of +3.2, which would have been continuing the attack and not just taking the fork, I have taken the fork, and it drops to +0.3. So that's perhaps a little bit of a shallowness of thinking, and this position here is one that I will put a little bit of study into a little bit later. And taking a look at, if I play the check and his king comes to here, well, taking a look at all the different variations. But the most obvious one of swapping a knight for a rook is not the best, but that's what I played, so we'll continue. He's placed his queen out. And even now, grabbing that rook with the knight isn't the best move. And queen g2, lining it up on that hanging knight, is best. Second best is checking and then having two pieces on that knight, on that rook, which would be interesting. But I played the more obvious, taking the rook with the knight. He takes back, And I thought, let's get this down to me having the better piece with only the 2 pieces on the board. So I have played check. He's come out, taken, and even now taking that D pawn with the rook and playing for a little while longer with my queen to try and do something about all these pawns in an area of the board where I don't have any was the go. But I could see that because that's threatening his queen and the hanging knight, and his queen cannot move and protect the knight, just are no squares. So I walked into and accepted this endgame. Now, by no means, actually, I need to get better with my endgames, but it's at 0.0 is the eval at this point. I have a rook, he's got a knight, but the power of these pawns with the king with them, and my king is too far away. So the message, the biggest message for me here is not to... It's not just about the pieces. The king activity is also pretty huge. And be very careful about stepping into the endgame. Right, so he's moved, his knight is threatening my rook. Could take it all the way to the end, but I've brought it all the way back. Wish I'd kept it back and fought a little bit harder here. And I can truly see that checking from here, forcing his king back, is not bad. It's actually plus for white. But I've instead threatening the knight, and the king can't come forward. So that's not too bad. His knight can't take either. That's not a check. The best move, and it's keeping it at 0, would be to threaten the C pawn. And greed is not good. The eval jumps to 2.7. For black, I need this guy. I need to try and save him, and I need to try and get my king across. I went on a different mission. None of these pawns move in the whole endgame. It was a fool's waste of tempo up here, across here, and back. It's at least 3 tempo where I could have been doing stuff. Mistake. And here's the Irish pawns of victory. Tripled pawns together like that, good old Irish pawns, you can't beat them. I might as well shake his hand now. It's actually 4.1 to black, and there's a reason for that. Try to get a little bit too late, too little. Try to... Very nice. After I forked my opponent, he teed this up beautifully. Should I put my rook in the way? There goes the rook to the knight. +8. This is where I shook my opponent's hand. So, well done to my young opponent. He's 60 or 70 points above me, but I do, in many ways, feel I let that one slip a bit. And very much, I'd had the attack. I think my king's currently a lot safer than his. And I put a little bit too much in that instead of dealing with the threats that are here. This pawn can be taken now. It's protected by the knight. It's fighting for the file. If he takes me, I take that back. And you can. It's plus 3.7 for a reason. So if you ever want to see a position where forking a rook and a queen with your knight is not smart, this is it. Powerful knight in the middle is probably worth as much as a rook that's not doing much. That pawn's pretty powerful, and it can be asked to disappear. And if you were to take it back, I would probably end up taking back with the queen. It would have been wiser. And I've still got hanging, if he does come forward with that rook, and if I think I've got the time, check, and then cleaning up that rook on the H. But so very interesting game. Pretty happy with the opening, and most of the middle game developing the attack. Went a little bit wrong about here, and then in the end game, greed was not good. It was very even for some time. So that's very much what happened here. I wonder what the three great moves each, 1500 to 1600, but what does that mean? But in the opening, 81 to 68. So I outplayed my opponent in the opening and slightly outplayed in the middle game, and his endgame play was very good. Anyway, bye for now.